to your annual cybersecurity training. Today we're going to talk about micro-training techniques to improve that cybersecurity awareness training. American corporations are investing a significant portion of their annual budget, about 10% and 20%, on complex and highly technical controls, creating many layers of cyber defense to protect their assets. But the people who are given access to those assets on a daily basis, people who often sit inside of those controls, are typically not provided the training necessary to protect corporate assets. When 88% of breaches are caused by humans, why aren't we doing a better job training humans? Traditional cybersecurity awareness training is not sufficient. What kind of education is the average American employee receiving? 45% of employees say they do not receive any cybersecurity training at all from their employer. Now, originally I thought about asking for a show of hands of how many of you fall into this category, but this seems like maybe not the right place to admit that you're not getting cybersecurity training at work. So of the portion that's left, let's take a look and see. 25% will receive an online video. They're probably sitting alone at their desk watching something pre-recorded. 20% may attend an in-person class, but that might also be a pre-recorded video. You're just sitting in a group, right? 6% receive an email that might have a PDF document attached. It's likely just text. And 4% receive some other type of training. That may be a combination of the other types, or it may be something completely different. How many of you see your company's training program represented here? Most of you? Okay. After 4 months, employees are typically only able to recall or perform 10% of what they learned in that annual training. After 6 months, that drops to less than 5%. The bottom line is technical controls can only do so much. If employees are not provided frequent, relevant, and effective cybersecurity training, the front door is unlocked and wide open. Microlearning is a science-based approach to education which improves retention and attention to the information presented by providing short lessons at frequent intervals in easily digestible formats. Recent studies of microlearning techniques across a variety of industries show that employees are 50% more engaged with learning activities. They demonstrate a 70% improvement on implementation of skills learned and report a 94% satisfaction rate with microtraining platforms. There are quite a few different types of microtraining techniques out there, but these are the 4 most common: just-in-time, gamification, demonstration, and flash. It makes sense if you think about the types of media that employees choose to consume on a daily basis. Social media platforms provide information in short bites. We have an interesting video, a few lines of text, or a few intriguing photos. If we can provide cybersecurity training in the image of these small bites, employees are more likely to engage willingly with the material and retain what they learn. Let's take a look at these 4 techniques. Just-in-time is targeted training that is delivered just as the employee might need it. This technique is ideal for employees who may have limited time to learn. They might spend a lot of time in the field away from their devices, or they may spend a significant portion of their day on air-gapped systems. Just-in-time techniques are also great for people who benefit from frequent reminders to make a good choice. If you perform best when you have that little voice over your shoulder telling you to take your time, make the right decision here, that is a just-in-time technique. I also find that employees who did not grow up with a cell phone in their hand benefit from just-in-time training. Try deploying a phish test utilizing hyper-relevant phishing techniques like this text message that we've all seen 100 times. Share a current news article or a video that reinforces recent training, especially if that training included vocabulary that's reflected in the article or video. I find it's incredibly important to build cybersecurity vocabulary, especially among employees who don't work in this industry, because it helps them to identify with the news stories that they see in social media, on television, online. They can see it reflected in their own lives and learn from it and apply it. Consider alt text reminders like this little pop-up containing password best practices that can be displayed just as a password is being changed. These are also great when people are about to access a remote system or about to download something and they need a minute to just pause and reflect before they make that choice. Demonstrations allow users to understand concepts visually and observe real-world scenarios. Consider a live demonstration of an insider threat behavior and appropriate response options. A role-playing video showing how to identify and respond to social engineering tactics, or a recorded walkthrough showing the proper procedure for remote access. Demonstrations are great for people in classes, especially if you're doing an in-person class, because you can ask for volunteers from the audience and have them come up and demonstrate something, and everyone else in the audience can identify better with that person, especially if they already know them from a work experience. Demonstration techniques are often chosen by employees who learn best by seeing and observing, those who enjoy hands-on learning. While sometimes it's enough to just see someone do something and observe that behavior, consider enhancing a demonstration experience by allowing employees to demonstrate what they've learned and providing immediate feedback. Gamification motivates learners to gain and retain information in a fun way. This technique is ideal for employees who enjoy friendly competition, find motivation in achievement and rewards, and prefer and benefit from interactive and engaging learning experiences. An example of this is we did an annual fishing derby at my company last year. So everyone in the company was automatically enrolled, and for 4 weeks, each person received 2 phishing emails each week. The phishing emails were randomly generated by KnowBe4, not sponsored, but that's the platform we use. And each one increased in complexity. They were also assigned points. So if you reported the fish, you earned points. If you clicked the fish and you took the bait, you lost points. At the end of 4 weeks, we tallied up all of the points. And the winners, pictured in this cute little picture here, received a certificate and a bag of Swedish fish. Side note, the person who did not win, the person who took the most bait, received a can of Spam. They were not very happy about that and chose not to be in the picture. But that's okay, right? It was all in good fun. Other gamification ideas. Think about games that people are already familiar with. Last year at Christmas time, instead of a 30-minute training class, which I normally teach, we played Cybersecurity Trivial Pursuit. It's a game I found online. It was free to use. When people answered a question correctly, they had their choice of a piece of candy or a sticker. You would be shocked how many grown men love to get stickers when they answer something right. Flash lessons are concise, impactful training moments delivered in short bursts in a variety of different formats. A flash lesson could be a cybersecurity tip of the day or a tip of the week that you deliver by text message or by email. Consider an interactive pop quiz conducted online or also by text message. Even colorful posters featuring relevant cybersecurity information placed in areas that might gain attention, like an elevator or next to a printer. These are 2 cybersecurity posters that I designed, that I put up in our company. This technique is typically chosen by employees who have a limited attention span. And truthfully, this applies to most of the microtraining techniques that we discussed today. We are playing into people who have short attention spans, and that tends to be most of modern employees. It's just what we're used to these days. And these people we find are able to retain information when it's provided in short chunks. Also, if it's extra colorful like these are. Offering lessons that utilize a variety of microtraining techniques encourages employees to engage with material in a way that traditional training methods do not. Additionally, learners tend to gravitate towards the learning methods that best suit their preferences. That could be visual, it could be auditory, or it could be kinesthetic, meaning hands-on. Even if they're not inherently aware of why they're making that choice. A study of more than 1,500 medical assistant students showed that when compared to traditional training methods, microtraining resulted in a 145% better retention 2 weeks after training. After 6 months, that was 150%. These numbers improved even more when learners were given multiple options of how to learn. So they might have been offered a choice of a demonstration video to watch, a PDF document to read, or a game to play. All 3 choices taught the same skill, but if they were given the option to choose which method they preferred, their long-term retention was significantly higher. So what's important to know here is it doesn't matter if your employees know why that's better. They don't need to know that they're an auditory learner or a visual spatial learner or hands-on. That knowledge is not important. They will inherently know what they like, and as long as you're offering that option, whatever that matches their preference, they're naturally going to gravitate towards that. They'll engage better, they'll retain that information longer. So what should a training program look like? As the cybersecurity administrator at my electric cooperative, I am tasked with training 166 employees on cybersecurity year-round. I break that program down into monthly, quarterly, and yearly. Monthly, everyone in my company receives at least 1 phishing test, sometimes 2. I mentioned no before, again, not sponsored, it's just what we use. This program, and there are others like it, will automatically send those phishing tests out to your employees. What's fun is they all know me and they think that I pick each individual test that they get. So they'll hunt me down in the hall and be like, that was really good, you almost got me. They get really excited about that. I also assign a video training. It's almost always a video, sometimes it's a game, but it's interactive on their computer that they walk through each month. I do my best to make sure it's about 3 minutes long. I like to make sure it has a quiz question or 2 at the end so they don't just press play and walk away from their device because, people will do that. If they're in a role that is considered high risk, so people in HR, people who are handling financial information, they're going to get more training each month. It may be very specific to their job role, or it may be specific to something I'm seeing in the cybersecurity environment at that time. Our platform also makes a full library of additional content available all the time, and I'm continually shocked how many people willingly engage with additional material on their own time. So the program doesn't notify me, but I can go in and see the count of videos that people have watched each month, and I think it's really interesting to see that people are choosing to engage with that content on their own. Each quarter, the entire company, all 166 of them, are required to attend a 30-minute training with me. It's usually something kind of like this. I have a slide presentation. I try to incorporate a couple of videos. I hand out a worksheet. When this worksheet goes out at the beginning of the class, I say the same thing every single time. Please don't put your name at the top. This is not graded. I give a worksheet so people can follow along. Usually it's fill in the blank. It might be multiple choice. I think I once incorporated a word search, something to help them learn the vocabulary of what we're talking about that quarter. On the back of the worksheet is a survey. I want to make sure that the information I'm providing is relevant to their job, or at least it's relevant at home, right? This is information they can implement in their daily lives because we would like to see the same cybersecurity behaviors and habits at work and at home, so we're reinforcing in both places. My classes also come with a handout. I try to repeat the information that's being covered in a way that they can take home, help them remember what we talked about. Usually they're giving it out though. They're giving it to their family members, their friends, their grandparents. I especially encourage them to share this information with anyone elderly in their lives. Maybe they have elderly parents or grandparents who are still in charge of their finances and are at high risk. The back of the survey, I forgot to mention, I include a little spot where people can write in ideas for future classes, and I think that's really important. I want to make sure that my classes are engaging and are relevant, and so I look for patterns in what people are requesting. Yearly training. So we do contests like we talked about the fishing derby. Watch parties are also fun. So when a movie comes out or there's a series on TV, we can put together a watch party. You can do it online using different platforms, or we can do lunch and learn and watch in 30-minute increments over the span of a couple of weeks. Know Before offers an optional report card that I can print out that shows people the different topics they've been trained on throughout the year, the different phishing techniques they've been trained on, how many fish they received and how many they reported, so they can kind of see what their track record looks like. Last year, I gave a cybersecurity final exam during my last class of the year. Said the same thing, don't put your name on this. This is not graded. This test is a reflection of me. I want to see how well I have taught you this year. I also gave them the option to put their name if they want a sticker for doing the test, and everybody wants a sticker, which is great. But the overall score company-wide was 82% on the final exam, which I think is pretty good, right? Right. That also helps me understand areas that maybe we're not learning as much as we should be. What areas do I need to focus on when I develop my training program for 2025, which is now underway? The overall goal here is to keep cybersecurity top of mind. Instead of doing once-a-year training where everyone sits and watches a video at their desk, or they come listen to someone drone on about the exact same topics year after year, how can you change your culture? How can you change your cybersecurity training so that cybersecurity is top of mind, so that you're presenting learning opportunities that meet people's learning needs? Can you change out the same posters that have been in the hallway for 2 years? Can you add something a little bit more colorful? I share these posters that I designed freely, and my contact information is in the app that everybody has. Feel free to reach out to me. I am happy to send those posters to you with no logos on them so you can brand them to your company. Think about different games you can play. Think about offering a lunch and learn that people can come sit down, bring a sack lunch, and learn about cybersecurity topics. Think about sharing a relevant news article that you came across, especially if it is going to pertain to something people are dealing with every day. We probably all received the same FBI warning in our email yesterday about the new text techniques that they're using that are targeting iPhones. That's a great article to share with your employees, but break it down so they don't, it's a little technical for them, right? Break it down, explain the vocabulary, and then make sure they understand how it personally affects them. If they can't translate it into something that's gonna affect their lives personally, it's not going to be that interesting to them. So the ideal cybersecurity awareness training program should always offer learners a variety of microlearning options that are relevant and engaging at frequent intervals. So as we leave today, here's a few things I really want you to think about. How do you learn best? Did I hit a technique that meets your needs, or are you thinking of a different way that you recently learned something that wasn't included in the top 4 we talked about? Does your current cybersecurity awareness training program meet your own learning preferences? If you find it hard to think about how other people learn, just focus on how you learn, and then maybe ask the person sitting next to you. If you have children at home and you're helping them with their homework, take note of how they learn best. Do they respond best to homework that requires more visual engagement, or do they respond best to homework where they're going online and looking things up and watching videos? How can your own cybersecurity awareness training program be improved to engage employees? Can you run a phishing derby? Maybe you can. I actually have a write-up of how to implement this using a variety of different platforms I'd be happy to share with you. Can you run some sort of contest? Can you use fish leaderboards to maybe engage different departments against each other? Who's catching the most fish? Do you recognize employees when they catch a real fish, right? It's not a phishing test, it's a real fish and they caught it. Do you or can you take the time to recognize that person? Whether it's one-on-one, maybe you have an employee newsletter you could recognize them in. Sometimes I have people catch fish that I would have fallen for. I package that up in a memo and it goes out to the whole company. And with their approval, I'll say, John caught this fish and it's really, really good and I would have fallen for it and you might too. So let's all learn from John, who had his thinking cap on this morning and reported that email instead of clicking on it. I would love to hear from you now that we have time for some questions. What types of cybersecurity training are you seeing in your own company that you think would benefit other people here? What are you doing different? What are you not doing different? What are you doing that's the same as everybody else that you think you could change? Thanks, Carter.
Great talk, Lindsey.
Thanks.
Appreciate that. I guess bottom line, you're telling me that I can do cybersecurity training in the 11 other months that aren't October?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great, thank you.
every month.
So a couple of questions that are focused around metrics and how you communicate this from the board down.
Yes.
And I can share some of the stuff that I've done in the past, but do you guys do that in VA? Do you actually have stats that you share with the board and people see how their progress can, buy down that risk, so to speak?
We do. So I share metrics of how many trainings our employees receive, and that does include online training and in-person training. I share metrics about the fish-prone percentage, which is, I know, specific to KnowBe4, but other platforms provide something very similar. I do share a total number of phishing tests that went out and the total number that were reported. And then I share the number of fish that were reported that weren't tests.
Right.
Because I think that's a really good indication of how aware people are being. But I also try to couch that with some people just delete it, right? And that's okay. I try to explain why it's important to report fish versus just deleting them, but we try to include all of that information.
Do you guys have a corporate goal on phishing percentages that you share with the board or you recognize?
I don't know that we necessarily have a goal. Since I've been there, we've been under 2.5% on our fish-prone percentage, which the industry average, I believe, is 6.4% in the electric industry. So we've been pretty happy with that. So I haven't felt the need to set a goal.
I would encourage everybody, if you track that percentage, don't just use the default easy tests that come out of KnowBe4 to inflate your numbers.
Agree.
Challenge them.
Yes.
Challenge them.
Turn that intensity up. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what the bad guys are going to do. They're not going to pay attention to the easy stats. And everything.
Agreed. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks, Lindsey.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to ask the age-old question, the carrot or the stick.
Yeah.
I know you didn't do a whole lot on the stick side of it, but especially coming from a military perspective, there's a lot of stick used. But as far as it comes to people that are not taking the training or refusing or just continue to fail that type of stuff, do you guys ever have that where there's punitive action, there's something like that needs to go down instead of, like, you guys use the carrot a lot?
So I really, for the most part, don't believe in using sticks. Research shows that negative reinforcement in cybersecurity training is not effective. However, there's always going to be that guy or that girl who keeps clicking the fish, who doesn't show up to training. So the first time you click a fish in my company, you do get an email that says, oh, look, you clicked a fish. And here, look, do a 5-minute remedial training. And that's pretty much it. If you click 2 fish in 6 months or less, you get a visit from me. And we're going to sit down and have a conversation. But I approach that from a me perspective. Where in my training am I failing you, right? Please show me in this fish why you were convinced to click, and so I can improve my training to help you. So I make sure that it's not accusatory. I can say that we haven't had to get to step 3 in our company, so we don't really have a procedure for what happens if we do it again. Pretty much the worst that happens is people that don't want to come to training, and that does tend to be my linemen, but luckily their supervisor is wonderful, and I also I provide the best donuts you can get in town.
Nice.
And I sugar them up, and so if they don't even listen, if they just come and eat a giant donut and they sit in the room and then maybe it by osmosis gets in, if that's what we do, that's okay.
Well, I think that's great. I think you're setting a good culture and improving on that culture that you have in your environment and makes it into like a trust type of thing. So
it really does, and I find that people come to me with questions. I always say, I'm happy to look at a fish even if it's on your personal device. I'm happy to talk to you about a scary text message you got even if it's on your personal cell phone. I'm not going to say, oh, that's your personal phone, I don't care about that. I do care. And I find that people come to me for help because I'm creating a comfortable culture of trust. Hi.
Hey, Lindsey. Thanks for the presentation.
Thank you.
The real test of training is when you're really at your worst,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
Do you have any other data overlays for assessing when or why somebody clicked on a fish, failed that test? And do you also have like solutions or tools to be able to assess when people might be, quote unquote, overloaded and then send them that test email?
So why people click? That's a really good question. The most common things that I see in our cooperative is employees who are new. So employees who are new are coming from an environment where they haven't been tested before. So they've not seen a fish test, they're not familiar with fishing. Typically I see it in my young apprentice linemen, tend to be the ones who are my early clickers. And so as far as preventing that, we work on training. They do get a visit from me a little bit earlier than they might have otherwise of like, hey, let's talk about why you clicked this. We've even talked about limiting email access for our linemen, our apprentice linemen, so they're only receiving internal emails and not external. It's not something we've enforced yet, but I have a training coming up next month where that's going to be discussed of, hey guys, you're gonna have to figure this out or else. Or else we're gonna start bringing in, reining things in a little bit. I also see people click when they're distracted. That's the absolute other one that I see all the time. And sometimes I see clicks from people in the company and I'm like, really? Because I can see what they clicked. I can open the email and see what it is. And I'm like, you've been here for 15 years and you've received hundreds of phish tests by this point and you still clicked it? And they're like, oh, I was on the phone, I was talking to so-and-so, or I was expecting KnowBe4 to send some real tricky ones that look like they're from Microsoft or are from a company that maybe we do business with, and they're like, oh, I was expecting an email, and so I clicked it. Had they stopped, looked at the, hovered over the URL like we teach, look at the sender information, they would have seen that it was not legitimate, but they click it anyway. And I'm sorry, can you ask the second part of your question again?
Oh, do you know of any solutions or tools out there to be able to assess when somebody is in that distracted state or overloaded state? Like I'm thinking, if you can look and see how many emails I've gotten in the past 5 minutes, right? Like managers are probably a good one to target for that.
Sure.
Or looking at Outlook calendars, like they're running meeting to meeting to meeting, send them an email or send them a test.
I think there are, the platform we use doesn't address that. I think there are platforms out there that do address that and may be more likely to catch that. The only thing I can think of that might be effective is like the little alt text pop-up that I showed in one of the micro-training techniques, in that if you're in a situation where an employee is about to access a really high security system, you can design that login to have a little pop-up that says, hey, stop, take a deep breath, check your surroundings, are you in a secure position to do the dangerous thing you're about to do? Or when we're changing a password, we use a password manager that recognizes that the password is being changed and has a pop-up that comes up and says, hey, hold on, is this what you mean to do? Can we suggest a super long complex password? Can we make this a safer process for you? So if you have situations that you can predict are routinely high risk, that's something you can look at integrating into your systems.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, great. Thank you so much. Have a great day.